I want you to imagine for a moment it's the 1950s. You own a fairly successful company that continues to gain more customers every day, but you wish you had more repeat customers. Sure, you know the faces of a few individuals, but you find yourself having a hard time tracking every person that comes in frequently. Luckily for you, there's a fancy new doodad that's about to change all of that: the Rolodex, a rotating device that holds contact cards for each of your clients and allowing you, the business owner, to have a quick and easy access to all of your customers' basic info, such as their name, their home phone, maybe even their address if desired. It's helpful for your customers because you can now provide promotions for their loyalty, thus giving them a better deal. And it's good for you because now you have a rotating door of return clients. But let's pause because there's something we missed: the word tracking. I said it a moment ago. Now, in a sense, some people might state that the basic information from our scenario here is not that big a deal. But let's jump forward a bit further to see where this begins to lead. In 1985, Telemagic, considered to be the first CRM or customer relationship management software, pushes us into the digital realm, allowing you to get rid of the rotating stack of cards on your desk and replace it with one of those crazy computers that your friend just bought. A lot more software comes out over time, and these programs become more advanced, allowing for more information to be held, more accounting to be done, and even more data to see every single aspect of your company's sales, growth, and finances. In 1994, Netscape introduces cookies. Initially, this was for providing a better user experience, but it also inadvertently allowed the tracking of user activity online. Not long after, in the same year, AT&T displays the first banner ad, and the concept of click-through began to allow advertisers to track user engagement with said advertisements. Luckily for you, you've invested into a brand new website and digital advertising begins to become more relevant. So you purchase ad space wherever you can and even collect emails through newsletter signups. Honestly, it's just good business. But let's fast forward again. Fast forward past the rise of social media, past the data breaches, the mobile apps, and the ever present terms of service that nobody ever reads. Today, tracking isn't just about cookies or ad clicks, it's about identity. We now find ourselves in an era where governments and corporations alike are pushing for something new: verifiable identification, just to access the open internet. Not just a login, not just an email. They want your face, your ID, your biometric signature, all under the guise of safety, security, or age verification. It's no longer about improving your customer experience. It's about gatekeeping access to the digital world based on who you are and not just what you do. At first glance, regulations like the UK Online Safety Act or the Earn It Act in the US appear to be about protecting children, stopping exploitation, or making the web safer. But these laws don't just regulate harmful content. They introduce identity checkpoints across the entire internet. Scanning your ID, submitting your face, linking your real world identity to your every click, view, and post. We're told it's for our protection, but here's a better question: why are we no longer allowed to have anonymity? And an even better question than that: what happens when anonymity dies? When everything you read, say, and search is attached to your real name, your address, your biometric data, you no longer just exist online. You're just exposed. And when you're exposed, you're managing. No more burner accounts, no more dissent in the comments, no more whistleblowers, edgy comedians, or unpopular opinions shared without consequence, because once they know who you are, they know where you live. Once they know what you watch, they know what influences you. And once they know what influences you, they can shape it. Control the feed, control the narrative, control the person, control you. This isn't about age verification. And honestly, pretty sure this isn't just about keeping people safe. This is about erasing the buffer between your digital self and your physical self. so that every interaction online becomes traceable, punishable, and most importantly, programmable. An internet without anonymity is an internet where freedom becomes performance, where speech becomes compliance, and where perception becomes property. For example, an app called T recently made headlines. It was marketed as a place to expose cheaters, mostly men, and the app invited users to submit stories, accusations, and photos. In many cases, users willingly uploaded names, locations, and screenshots to publicly shame others. But here's the twist. To use the app, you had to verify your identity. That means scanning your government issued ID, sometimes even facial recognition checks. Then it happened. A massive data breach. Thousands of users were doxxed. Real names, photos, locations, and sensitive ID documents spilled onto the open web. And suddenly, the exposers became the exposed. People who had no problem airing out others online, often with zero due process, were now panicking. Not because of the app's purpose, but because their anonymity was gone. Their personal lives, careers, and safety were now at risk. And without diving too deep into the moral complexity of an app like T, this moment revealed something bigger. When your digital identity is permanently tied to your real one, it only takes one data breach, one mistake, for the entire system to collapse on top of you. No appeals, no undo button, just exposure. Growing up, I used to hear this phrase a lot, and it seems to be making a comeback these days, and I'm not quite sure why. But maybe when you start to think about things a little bit more in depth, you start to figure things out. How many points on a graph do you need to make a line? One search here, one comment there, a video you lingered on just a bit too long, an article you shared, a message you deleted. Individually, they're nothing. But together, they draw a very clear picture. And when your identity is tied to everything that you do online, this picture begins to have a name. And that's yours. This is where things start to make sense, at least from the perspective of power. Governments would love a quieter public. They'd love for you to forget that the Epstein client list was never released. They'd prefer you not notice growing protests, corporate collusion, or unpopular wars. And the best way to keep people silent is to make them feel watched. Because if you think watching a documentary on government corruption might land you on a list, just maybe you won't watch it. Just maybe you won't share it. And just maybe you'll stop asking questions altogether. Companies, they're no better. They already track your clicks, your location, your sleep patterns, but they still don't know you completely. At least, not quite yet. Now imagine if they could link your real identity to every digital action. No more guesswork, no more algorithms trying to figure out who you might be. Now, they know exactly who you are, what you want, what you fear, what makes you compliant. And when they know that, they don't just respond to your behavior, they shape it. They shape what you see, they shape what you don't, they shape what you think is real, what you think is true, they shape what you think is your own thoughts. And if you think that sounds paranoid, just ask yourself, how many data points does it take before you stop being a person and instead start becoming a profile? Because that's where we're headed. A future where anonymity is outlawed, privacy is a myth, and every thought, every curiosity, every reaction is reduced to a data point on a graph. A graph with only one input: control. Specifically, control over you. Let's be honest. If the government wants your data, they already have it. They can easily access it. Every click, every search, every message, everything that you thought was private, it's all logged, stored, and indexed. And that's just because we live in a world where true anonymity online is kind of a myth. That's honestly not even the most dangerous part. What should concern you more is what can be done to you after people have identified you. We see it all the time with swatting, with the way that people dox each other and put information out online, making them feel more vulnerable than a lot of other situations would ever even come close to doing. For example, there was a woman in the UK by the name of Samantha Smith. She spoke out angrily, publicly, about a migrant crisis and Pakistani grooming gangs, as she put them, and regardless of where you land on that conversation, that's not necessarily what we're here to debate. We're here to talk more specifically about the fact that the next thing she knew, the police were at her door. No charges, no crime, just a visit, just a warning. She was silenced, not by a court, not by a platform, but by presence. Honestly, just a reminder that her speech wasn't just disapproved of, it was being watched. Again, regardless of your stance on her views or even yours, ask yourself, is this where we are now? A place where expressing the wrong opinion brings state pressure to your front door? The government seems to have just stopped pretending that it's neutral or even mildly disjointed from the internet, and it did that a long time ago, but it has begun deciding what's allowed to be said and who is allowed to say it. The sad thing is that this is going to become more prevalent. Situations like these are going to become more commonplace. When they do, I just hope that you remember the only thing that I made this video for. This isn't about protecting society. It's not about taking care of people who are underage. That seems like it's all just a guise. This is about controlling the narrative. Privacy online is just one casualty. Freedom of speech is already being targeted. There are people out there who are trying to silence you, and the silence is growing louder. And as each person begins to grow silent and stop speaking out, as far as me or you are concerned, that's when we just become another point on the graph.